You're executing, you're taking action, you are checking all the boxes. So, why isn't the money matching your effort? In today's episode, we are going to talk about the 6 blocks that are keeping you from making the money that you desire. This episode is for the person who's working hard and wondering why money still feels hard. We are not talking tactics, we're talking energy, and specifically your capacity to receive money. So there are 6 common blocks that I see over and over again with entrepreneurs and high achievers. And by the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly which blocks you have. So the first one is your thoughts around money. And this is the root of absolutely everything because our thoughts create our reality. So let me give you an example. So many people think that money comes from hard work. Although, now that I say that, I'm sure you can think of someone who works really hard that does not make a lot of money. So here's the thing about our beliefs. They shape our reality. Our brain has a confirmation bias, meaning that whatever we think, it's going to find evidence that that is true. Your brain receives thousands of bits of information at all time, and your brain filters the unimportant information out. And because our brain wants to prove us right, it has this confirmation bias. It wants to tell us that we're correct. Whatever you are thinking, telling yourself, believing, it's going to find evidence of. So if you're telling the story, money is hard to make, you're going to find evidence that money is hard to make. If you say that money makes people greedy, you're going to find evidence that money makes people greedy. If you think that money is easy to make, you're going to find evidence of that. So here's what I want to ask you. Are the thoughts that you're telling yourself about money serving you and aligned with the financial reality that you're looking to create? And if not, and here's the best part, if they're not, you can reshape them. I have a resource. It's the 100 limiting beliefs about money that I see most commonly with my clients and with entrepreneurs. I will link it in the show notes. And it's just the 100 common beliefs about money that so many of us believe. One of my clients once downloaded it and said, "Oh my God, I have like 70 of these and I didn't even realize it." So here's what I want to ask you. What do you want to believe about money? Look at your goals. Look at how you want your relationship with money to be. And then based on that, what would you like to believe about money? And those are the thoughts that you want to practice. Those are the thoughts you want to find evidence for that they are true. Because once you start to see these beliefs and look for evidence of new beliefs and reshape these beliefs, your entire reality will start to change and you're going to be able to attract more money. And here's the best part. You're already thinking thoughts anyway. So with intentionally choosing them on purpose, you get to receive more money easily. Next is the worthiness tax. There are some things that are absolutely certain, and taxes is one of them. And so I like to call this the worthiness tax because if you don't believe you are worthy of the money you desire, you are not going to attract it or keep it. So I want to ask you this. What money are you looking to call in? And it could be a certain revenue number. It could be a price point you want to be at. It could be a net worth. And do you feel like you deserve that? Ask yourself, get in your physical body, and I want you to ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being so worthy, 1 being not worthy at all, how worthy do you feel of that money? And if that number is not a higher number, like an 8 or a 9 or a 10, then you're paying a bit of a worthiness tax. You need to feel worthy of the money you desire in order to call it in. Otherwise, you're creating an income ceiling. And this is how this works in your business. If you want to make $200,000, but you don't feel worthy of $200,000, you're never going to be able to earn that money. And if you do, there might be some self-sabotage. So have you ever earned a large amount of money and maybe your bank account is at the highest you've ever seen it at? It's feeling really exciting, really high. And then you notice that an unexpected bill comes up, or you sell this big, amazing package, the highest ticket offer, and then you immediately give a discount afterwards. that is a sign of sabotage. Maybe you even know someone who this happens to, where they're attracting money, but they're not able to keep it. This is unfortunately very common. And here's the thing about worthiness. We have to believe we're worthy logically in our brain, but we also have to get our body on board. And that tends to be the harder part because the mindset work is just the first piece. But getting your body on board is what allows you to feel safe with the money so that you keep it. And that is all about nervous system regulation. I have a podcast episode on this. I will link that in the show notes if you have not listened to it before. That's a really good episode that teaches you how to feel safe in your nervous system so that you can make money in your business. Next is the giving and receiving in balance. The universal law of giving and receiving tells us there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance between giving and receiving. So money is energy, just like anything. And energy likes to move. It doesn't like to stay stagnant. So you need to give money and you need to receive money. And yes, this means giving money away and allowing people to pay you money and feeling okay and comfortable with that feeling safe in your body. And also, it is so much more than that. And the best way to get good at giving and receiving is practice. It's reps. It's just like going to the gym and putting in the reps. And even though we're talking about money, you can practice giving and receiving other things besides money so that this doesn't have to be as scary of an exercise. One of my favorite ways to think about this is compliments. It really shows if someone is good at giving and receiving. When was the last time you gave someone a compliment? You were at the coffee shop, you saw someone, you really liked their jacket, and you told them. And then on the flip side, how are you at receiving compliments? So if someone tells you, oh my gosh, I love your jacket, do you say, oh, thank you? Or are you saying, oh, this old thing, I got it on sale, it's no big deal? It's the same with help or with support. Are you okay at giving help and support to other people when they need it? And if they offer it to you, can you take it? You can even think about this with gifts because gifts are so tactile that are you more comfortable giving a gift or receiving a gift? Because there is a connection here. So what I want to ask you is this: how can you give more in your life and in your business? And how can you receive more in your life and in your business? And if there is a disconnect here, then you're not balanced, right? So that means you need to practice giving or receiving, whatever feels uncomfortable for you, so that there is a balance. Because in order to make money in your business, you have to give value and you also have to be able to receive for that value. All right, the next block is perfectionism used as a disguise. So perfectionism is just procrastination in a fancy outfit. It is an expensive block that you are using to tell yourself, well, I just really care about my work. It has to be perfect. And here's what I want to tell you about that. A+ work will not make you rich because it won't get out there. But B- work, that will make you rich every single time. Perfectionism is your inner critic running the show. So often we're convinced that if we put something out there, people are going to judge you. And then what are we making that judgment mean? So here's the real question that I want you to sit with, because it's not about the work. What would it mean if you put out work that was not perfect? What are you making it mean? What are you actually afraid of? There's usually a limiting belief that's at the root cause of this. But done and imperfect will always beat perfect and invisible, right? The next one is a hard one for me because I unfortunately see it more often than I don't, is that we're not asking for what we want. You have to ask for the money. You have to ask for the sale. You can be the best at what you do, but if you're not asking people to buy it, you're not selling, then of course you're not going to sell it. Because the universe can't give you something that you don't ask for. So manifestation starts with a desire. First, you have to decide that you want it, and then you have to take action on it. And that's asking for the sale. That is part of taking action. So often I see entrepreneurs stopping selling before they even hear no. So if someone doesn't say yes right away or no right away, that is still a yes. It's a potential yes. Until someone tells you no and you want to make them tell you no, there's always the possibility. So don't be scared to ask for the sale. And then, of course, there's this important piece of how are you asking for the sale? Are you asking for it confidently? Are you asking for it with conviction, right? Because if you're asking someone for money and you feel uneasy, you sound uneasy, then it's going to be harder to get that sale for sure. When you're selling, you don't want to shop with your own wallet. We never want to assume what someone else has to spend because pricing is subjective. People spend money on what they value. And if you don't believe that, just ask around. There are people that think if they're a multimillionaire, they want to buy a Maserati and they think that that is totally worth the money. And then also there are multimillionaires that drive Priuses because they don't care about cars, right? People spend money on what they care about. I had a client once when I owned a Pilates and yoga studio, and my client had gotten amazing results. She could barely move when she came to me. She could barely bend over. And through working with me once a week, she was able to bend over, tie her shoes. Literally, her life improved in leaps and bounds. She wasn't in as much pain. She wasn't having to take all these pain pills. And she had this mobility that she just did not have before she started working with me. It was incredible. And when it came to paying for Pilates, she always would say she didn't have the money. Let me tell you, that woman once came to Pilates in a brand new Maserati. Do I think it would have made sense if I were her to come to Pilates twice a week, being that those were the results she got once a week? Yes, absolutely. To me, being able to move is way more important than a Maserati. But obviously it wasn't to her. And that just means that she didn't see the value. I had someone who was trying to barter and get extra sessions with me and get a discount. And then she told me that she was remodeling her kitchen and she was deciding on cabinets between like the $300,000 cabinets and the $400,000 cabinets. I didn't even know you could get cabinets that were that price point. People spend on what they see value in. Your job is to show all the value you can and then let them decide. But do not assume what someone can afford, because just because someone's saying it's expensive and they don't want to buy it doesn't mean that they won't. It doesn't mean that they won't come around. I've had so many people tell me this is expensive and then turn around and buy it. And then there's the story you're telling yourself about hearing no. Because here's what the most successful people in the world think about no. They don't care. They're willing to get no's because every no they get gets them closer to a yes. Think of the most successful people in the world, Steve Jobs, Oprah. They're not scared of no. They've failed many times and they keep going. They keep trying because the more you try, the more you put yourself out there, the more you're going to hear no. And it doesn't mean anything. It just means that you're putting yourself out there. I had a coach once who said, I love every time I hear a no because I know my conversion rate and it moves me that much closer to a yes. And I think that is the exact mentality. So my question to you is, how would you show up in your business if you knew that you were one no away from a yes? How would you show up in your business if you knew you only had to post 10 more Instagram stories to sell $10,000? How would you show up if you knew you only had to send X more emails before you got the sale? How would you show up if you only had to pitch yourself 3 more times to get whatever it is? And that's how I want you to show up every single time. Because you have to try. You have to put yourself out there as an entrepreneur. And it's not the no. It's not the rejection. It's what you're making the rejection mean. And that story is a story you're telling yourself. So when someone tells you no, my question that I want you to reflect on is, what are you making it mean? So for example, if someone tells me no, it means that I'm not good at my job. That could be a story I'm telling myself. Now I want you to find 10 pieces of evidence to the contrary. So I would have myself look for 10 ways that I'm good at my job. Because just like we talked about with our brains, with our thoughts, our brains look to prove us. So do the work, do the reps. Tell yourself all the reasons this isn't true. And the more and more you do this, the easier it's going to become. It's a muscle that you're building. And the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. And you're going to start getting yeses. You are going to start receiving money because no is just data. It has nothing to do with you and your worth. It may mean that you need to tweak your sales pitch. It may give us information, but it has nothing to do with you and who you are as a human. So I want you to reframe that, because every rejection is moving you closer to the yes, to the sale, to the money. Here's what I want you to do this week when it comes to receiving. I want you to do a 3-part energetic reset. So before you ask for the sale, before you get on Instagram and pitch yourself, before you go live, before you get up on stage, before you have the meeting with the client, whatever it is, I want you to first ground yourself. Get in your physical body. Do some breath work, do some little stretches, move your body, because you cannot receive from a dysregulated nervous system. So just remind your body that you are safe, that everything is okay. And then I want you to anchor into the identity that you are enough, that you are good at what you do. So in order to do this, we need to think about when we feel the most confident. So for me, it's when I get off a coaching call, when someone has a big breakthrough after my group coaching, when I've been around all my favorite humans, maybe after a speaking event. That's the time, if possible, to make the pitch. That's the time to sell. That's the time to show up on social media. And if that's not feasible, I want you to anchor into that and remember how you felt then. Maybe you make a list of all the reasons you're really freaking good at what you do, why you love what you do, why you're a badass, and you read it and you feel into that before you pitch. And the last thing is finding a purpose. So money, just like everything, likes having a purpose. So connect to your why. Why do you want this sale? Is it because you want to be able to pay your mortgage? Is it because you want to go on a vacation? And then besides why you want it for yourself, what is it going to do for your client? What value is it going to bring to their lives? How is it going to change them? How is it going to help them? Not just today or tomorrow, but big picture. So for example, I help my clients feel better in the moment, but I also change their entire relationship with money. And you interact with money every single day, multiple times a day. So I'm changing their lives. If they're moms, this is more than just changing their lives. This is generational trauma. If they heal their relationship with money, then their children are going to feel differently about money. They're going to see that modeled differently. So really connect to the why for your reason for wanting the money, because it gives it a purpose. And so it's not just that small purpose, but the bigger impact, the larger purpose. Here's the thing. In order to receive money, you have to be an energetic match to it. And these 6 steps are going to help you become an energetic match. They're going to help you get there. And so I want you to actually try it. Pick something from this podcast, one of the things, a few of the things, and actually implement them. And then I want you to observe and notice. Make it a science experiment. Notice how, when you do these things, your reality starts to change. Notice how receiving money becomes easier. Because seeing this evidence and seeing that this works, again, is going to ingrain into you this work. This work compounds. So every bit that you do is just going to make your relationship with money easier. I hope that after listening to this episode, you are able to receive money with so much more ease. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next Thursday, happy manifesting. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you're still here, I know you're serious about quantum leaping your income, and that commitment is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Here's what I want you to do next. Pick one insight from today and take action on it. Because here's the thing, transformation happens in the implementation, not just the inspiration. If this episode shifted something for you, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. It helps other ambitious, heart-centered women find the show. And if you're ready to take this work deeper and finally break through that income plateau, I'd love to invite you to book a discovery call with me. Because here's the thing, podcasts give you the what, but coaching gives you the how. It's what takes you from, I know what I should be doing, to, holy shit, I actually did it. Head to the show notes or to jillianminter.com to grab your spot on my calendar. Until next week, keep choosing abundance over scarcity, alignment over hustle, and remember, you're meant for more. You just have to believe it's yours.